What is up, guys? Welcome to Just Offside, the weekly MLS show where we take your comments and talk about them. My name's Allan.
And my name is Louie.
And let's just get right into it, guys. We know we haven't posted a video in 2 weeks, but our friend Louie here was on vacation in Spain, so he has a bunch of stories of experience there. But because of that, we couldn't get any episodes in. We are very, very sorry. But if you hit the subscribe button, maybe we'll get enough followers and subscribers to afford a replacement for Louie. Not that he's replaceable, but it would just help us out. We'd really appreciate it. And let's get right into it.
And if you guys are curious about exactly why we've been gone for the past 2 weeks, there's a link in the description that links to our podcast where we spent an entire episode talking about the El Clasico rivalry between Barcelona and Real Madrid in context of my trip to Spain. So if that interests you, go down there, hit that, give it a listen, maybe you'll enjoy it. And Brigham had asked on the last video, quick question, who do you guys think the Defender of the Year award will go to this year? And that's a tough one because and a lot of really good defensive performances across the league. And I mean, you got to look at it this way, in my opinion. The New York Red Bull have the best defense in all the MLS, and so I think that the award should probably go to either one of their starting center backs. Aaron Long has been having a phenomenal season for them and even has gotten his first call-up to the United States men's national team. So maybe him, but then again, it's a tough one. It's a tough one to answer. But yeah, I guess that would be my guess.
The GOAT said, you guys hear about Miggy potentially playing for Arsenal? How good do you think he'll do? So, I personally have not heard this rumor, but it wouldn't surprise me. He kind of fits into the profile that Arsenal fits right now. Creative player, can play kind of all over the pitch, and right now the way Arsenal's playing, can definitely see him fitting in there. I don't know how much he'd want to go there. Arsenal are a big club in Europe, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, the rumor is basically saying that it's a done deal for about 30-something million for Atlanta, that he'll be going to Arsenal in January. Now, while I think he would actually fit Arsenal's style of play very well, like you said, they are currently on a 13-game unbeaten streak with a very, very good fluid forward line. I don't see Miggy cracking that team, especially with the likes of Ozil there and a bunch of other players there. One rumor that came out this past week is that he might be joining West Ham for a similar amount of money. And at West Ham, I think he'd have more opportunity to really shine and show his skill. And I would love to see him, what he could do in the Premier League, because that would be, I mean, like we've been seeing over the past 2 years, Miggy is one of the best players in the MLS. So, and by the way, we're talking about Miguel Almiron, for anyone who hasn't caught on quite yet. But I would love to see him in the Prem, regardless of where he goes. I just don't think that Arsenal is the best fit for him, so I would actually rather him go to West Ham. Brad Jr. 10 says, for Atlanta United's future, I would love to re-sign Coach Tata, but I'm just hoping at this point. Well, this is another one of those things where we've been gone and we missed quite a bit of news. Tata Martino is officially leaving Atlanta United and is most likely taking up the position of the next head coach for Mexico, the Mexican national team. Now, Atlanta seems to be going through this transitionary period with, like we just talked about, Miguel Almiron potentially leaving, Tata Martino officially leaving. Yeah, it's going to be a weird offseason for them, and I hope that they can kind of keep their team together because they've been an absolute joy to watch. Yeah, man, Brad Jr., I'm sorry that he didn't re-sign. I don't know. Guys, let us know. Who do you think Atlanta United should bring in as their head coach?
Yeah, this is definitely an interesting period for Atlanta United because, you know, with this great rise that they've had, now is kind of going to be the most important time after this offseason to see if they can keep that momentum. They were so lucky as a new club to have had the success they had. Not a lot of kind of fledgling clubs can say that. So it's going to be interesting to see how they can transition forward, if they can keep a lot of the star players, if they can keep that same kind of fluid attacking style with their head coach leaving and a lot of their star players leaving. It'll be interesting to see how they fare next season for sure.
And another question for you guys. Is this Atlanta's last chance at a championship for the next couple of years? Is their window closing? Because with Tata Martino leaving and Miguel Almiron most likely leaving and maybe even more following them out the door, is their championship window just this year? I know that sounds bad to say because I know they have a good structure, but at the same time, it does feel like it's MLS Cup or bust for them. But let us know, guys.
And finally, DCU TV said, not bored of the DCU talk. Gotta shout out Bill Hamid too. He's a difference maker for us every game. Best keeper in the MLS. So again, another hard question. There are so many talented goalkeepers in the MLS this season. Obviously, Bill Hamid has played an important role along with so many of the DC United players after this kind of great turnaround that they've had this season. It's always important to have a really good keeper. I would put him up there in maybe top 5 keepers in the MLS, but I don't want to go crazy and say he's been the best. I think that there's a lot of talent in the MLS, but for sure, DCU TV, he has been one of the better MLS goalkeepers so far.
And what's been amazing is that he actually left DC. He went to go play overseas and then came and didn't really have the success he was looking for, but it's an amazing story because he comes back to DC at the right time and gets back into the team at the right moment just to continue to help them push their momentum. So it has been incredible to see how he's been on that field, because we always talk about the forwards in DC. We talk about Rooney, we talk about Acosta, we talk about Paul Arriola, but Bill Hamid has been just as important, if not more important, at the back than these guys have been. So yes, 100% shout out Bill Hamid, top 5 goalkeepers in the MLS. I might actually say he might be the best goalkeeper in the MLS, but we can debate that later.
All right, Louie, let's open up the conversation. This past weekend was decision day. So many important games. A lot of teams' fates were in the balance. Some teams really had to win their games to make the playoffs. One of those teams, LA Galaxy, actually ended up looking like they were going to win the game. They went up 2-0 versus the Houston Dynamo with 2 goals from Ola Kamara. It looked like they were going to be coasting into the playoffs. Their fate was decided, and then it all collapsed. They ended up losing to the Houston Dynamo 3-2 in what was a thrilling match, kind of an unexpected score. No one thought that was going to happen. And yeah, what are your initial thoughts on seeing that result?
Honestly, it was insane, first of all, because they're playing at home. The place is jumping. Everybody is excited as hell. They're like, yes, we're going to make the playoffs. And then they just started to collapse. That penalty that they gave away was absurd. I don't know what kind of defending that was, but he literally turned around, jumped and flying karate kicked the Houston Dynamo forward. And it was the clear-cut penalty. It was just silly. It was 2-1 at the time. That allowed Houston to tie the game, and then the momentum was gone. From that point forward, the momentum had 100% shifted into Houston's favor. To show you my point, that last goal for Houston was super easy. The momentum had shifted. LA just collapsed, both mentally and physically. It was awful to see.
Yeah, I think this game was a great representation of LA Galaxy's season overall. I mean, they've had the crazy highlights, starting with their opener against LAFC, this excitement, and then there were periods throughout the season where they just couldn't get it together. Zlatan wasn't enough to carry the team, and it just fell apart. So, do I think it's deserved a little bit? Yes, I think they were relying a little bit too much on Zlatan. He kind of took the shine, but at the same time, it would have been really exciting to see them in the playoffs.
Yeah, it would have been phenomenal to see Zlatan in the playoffs, and I'm actually a little bit disappointed in that because I think he would have absolutely crushed it in the playoffs, but at the same time, you can't rely on just one forward, and I kind of feel for the Galaxy fans because they absolutely booed their team at the final whistle, and that was astounding to watch because the team deserved it. The team deserved it. It was a horrible collapse. Their fate was in their own hands, and the whole stadium was booing them at the final whistle.
Yeah, it's interesting now because you have this situation with Ibra. He's finishing the season with, I think, 22 goals. As a Galaxy fan, do you want him still, or do you think that it's time to completely build a team that's not around this aging player, although he's been phenomenal? Kind of focus on some younger talent.
And also, LA fans, what was missing from this team? I mean, clearly Zlatan probably wasn't the problem, but what could have been different and what could have gone differently this season to have actually solidified you guys as a playoff hopeful? Moving along to the other team in LA, LAFC versus Sporting Kansas City. This was a Western Conference heavyweight matchup with both clubs vying for that number 1 spot in the Western Conference. A win for either club would have put them on top and given them that number 1 seed in the West. And what a game this was. It was hotly contested. And before we get into the actual action of the game, I just want to talk about the atmosphere in Kansas City. A lot of times we talk about Atlanta's atmosphere, Portland, Seattle, these clubs that just really put on a show. But one team that I feel like we neglect a little bit on the show is Sporting Kansas City. And their fans are incredible. That whole game, the whole stadium was rocking, and they just don't let up. They are the ones that are always there pushing their team. And my God, it is amazing to watch how these fans react to Sporting Kansas City. So kudos to you guys. You are killing the game, and we love seeing it. So back to the actual game itself. Espinosa's goal for Sporting Kansas City was an absolute rocket. This dude just picks it up at the top of the box and just hammers it home. But then, penalty to LAFC, and Sporting Kansas City reduced to 10 men. Tied game. Atmosphere's building. It's going crazy. And then, Sporting Kansas City pull out the 2-1 win over LAFC. despite being down to 10 men, and it just showed heart, and it showed the passion and the heart and the fight that they need to go into the playoffs. And it gives them the number 1 seed, and my God.
Yeah, as a Sporting Kansas City fan, I'm not one, but if I were, I would actually love seeing this result. Obviously, you don't want to see your team go down to 10 men, but I love seeing my team still pull out a victory even when they're playing poorly. So especially important going into the playoffs where games are going to be tough, games are going to be contested, you're going to be put under different situations. I think seeing this, I'd actually be a little happy to know that my team really has the guts and the bravado to continue on and put a good performance out there like that. Especially against an LAFC team that's in 3rd place, obviously a contender in the West. It's a huge result for Sporting KC. All right, and now let's talk New York City FC versus Philadelphia Union, 2 teams that over the past 10 games have had very different records. New York City FC only getting 2 wins out of their last 10 games. On the other side, Philadelphia Union getting 6 wins out of their last 10 games. So this was a matchup between 2 teams with 2 very different trajectories so far. But New York City FC, last game of the season, came out on top. A game that New York City FC ended up winning 3-1, and a game that wasn't really important in terms of standing on the table, but more a game that was more of a morale booster for New York City FC, having gone on such a poor run of games to get a win before the playoffs. What do you think? Do you think it's going to change their perspective going into the playoffs at all?
So it was much needed in my opinion. I think that New York City, like you said, were in such a poor run of form that they really needed to pull out a win here, and they were able to do that. And it actually must bode very well for that locker room to know that they have to play the same exact team in the same exact stadium in 2 days' time. I think this result might actually propel them past Philly again on Wednesday, because I think that like once you go through it and you've done that and you've won and you've got this momentum over the same exact team, you're going to face them again in 2 days. And so I think that it's very important that they pulled out this win. So we'll see where it goes, but I do think it was incredibly important to get this win, not only to overturn bad form, but also where it means going forward.
Yeah, and for Philadelphia, I think they might be thinking in the locker room, hey, it was a poor result, but I think New York City FC is beatable, right? So I think that if I were a Philadelphia Union fan, I wouldn't be all too concerned with the loss. I would more be looking forward to see if some of their past issues can be re-exposed in the playoffs.
Yeah, and you think about it, maybe they looked at yesterday's game as an opportunity to analyze New York City, even with the loss. Maybe they looked at it and went, oh, here's where we went wrong in this game, here's where we can hit New York City. So I think that if Philly takes this and uses the opportunity to learn from and really analyze it over the next 2 days, I think it could make a difference for Philly as well. But I'm still leaning more towards New York City.
But Philadelphia Union fans, do you agree with Louie? Are you scared of New York City FC, or do you think that you guys have the upper edge over them come the playoffs? All right, now let's talk about a game that was supposed to be the game of the weekend. Toronto FC versus Atlanta United. Atlanta United fighting to not only win that supporters shield, but also break the MLS records for most points won in a season. Atlanta United collapsed, lost 4-1 to Toronto FC. I think a result that no one really expected. Toronto's been playing so poorly this season. Atlanta United playing so well this season. The scoreline did not match up to what we expect in this game.
Oh, for sure. And I think that Toronto FC has been probably one of the most disappointing teams in the MLS this season. Like if we could give an award, you know what? We're going to give an award. Toronto FC, you win the most disappointing MLS club of 2018. So congratulations. But back to the game. If Atlanta had beaten Toronto, they would have actually taken Toronto's record from last year. This is a team that we've mentioned several times on the show that Toronto FC should have been the hallmark club for this season, and they completely just didn't do it. I don't know if it was the cold in Toronto. I don't know what it was, but that stadium was also absolutely empty. All you saw were red seats in the stands, no people there, and yet Toronto FC actually gave them something to cheer about. A 4-1 comfortable win with Giovinco just being absolute class yet again and pulling out all the stops, man. It was actually encouraging to see, I think, for Toronto, but just too little too late, if you ask me. And on the flip side, for Atlanta, not that they've been having a poor run of form, but it seems like their form over the past few weeks has been inconsistent. It seems strange, right? They had the opportunity to cement themselves in MLS history with that 72-point mark and a supporters shield and all of this stuff to encapsulate 2 great seasons in the MLS, and it just seems like maybe the players weren't up for it.
Yeah, right now there's been a lot of different news that if I were an Atlanta United fan, I wouldn't be totally happy with the announcement that Tata Martino's leaving, the transfers around some of their major stars not being there anymore. I wonder if that's getting into the players' heads at all. It's affecting the way they've been playing over the last few weeks. Obviously, they have a phenomenal team, and I'm sure they can turn it around, but it hasn't been all up like it was throughout the majority of the season. So it'll be interesting to see how the players react and overcome any of those little differences in the playoffs.
Yeah, the timing of these news things getting leaked and getting reported on, it's not great. But a very interesting thing to think about, and a question I want to open up to the audience here. If you had to pick between the 2017 record-breaking Toronto FC team or the 2018 record-equaling Atlanta United team, which team would you pick? And from the top rope comes New York Red Bull to snatch not only first place in the East, but also to break the record for the most points won in a regular season by any team and to win that Supporter Shield. They swoop in and snatch this from the clutches of Atlanta, and my God, what a crazy happening.
Yeah, crazy, man. It's like they were just working in the shadows all season. No one was really giving them the credit. These guys are there working hard, week in, week out, getting very important results all season long, whereas not getting that much attention. Atlanta United, Josef Martinez, all these big-name players getting all the attention. Red Bull came out of nowhere and stole the show.
Right, and okay, of course, they only beat the dumpster fire that is Orlando City, and it wasn't, we kind of expected that to happen, but like we talked about with Sporting Kansas City, they grinded out a win. There was a penalty decision in the first half, which baffled the crap out of me, because why Bradley Wright Phillips would allow Derek Etienne Jr. to take that rather than himself, I do not know, considering that Bradley Wright Phillips was the one who got fouled for the penalty.
Right.
Derek Etienne Jr. just goes and absolutely whiffs his penalty kick, and the goalkeeper saves it, and it's like, God, dude, that was just, you telegraphed that. You told the keeper where you were going, so that was awful.
Yeah, but to Derek Etienne Jr., he did end up getting a goal that put them up, got them the win. He kind of saved a little bit of face, saved himself a little bit of embarrassment. A guy who over the last few weeks as well for the New York Red Bull has really stepped up, has started getting more playing time, getting goals, getting assists, and really helping New York Red Bull out.
And that was a phenomenal goal, I will say. I do think he redeemed himself well to get them that win, and it was very good for him to do it, because after going through the lows of missing a penalty and getting it saved to then scoring the game winner in a fashion that actually was a very well taken goal. It took some skill and it was very good. But it was very good to see that he was able to really get integrated into this and pull out this historic win for the New York Red Bull. And the Supporter Shield once again finds its way back home to New York for their third Supporter Shield over the last 5 or 6 years, I believe. But as we've seen with the Red Bull, the regular season isn't the problem. And so will they be able to actually make this record-breaking season count? And what's different about this team than past Supporter Shield winning teams? Let us know in the comments below.
Only one team this year that has had a phenomenal turnaround, the Seattle Sounders. Midway through the season, they were bottom of the league, bottom of the Western Conference. At the end of the season, they are now sitting in second place in the West, a place that I don't think anyone really expected them to be at given their form halfway through the season. They finished off their regular season in dramatic fashion with a late 2-1 victory over a very poor San Jose team. Again, a result that as a Seattle fan I'd be pretty impressed with, because again, I like seeing my teams grind out results, grind out victories. And Seattle proved in this game and over a lot of games in the second half of the season that they have what it takes to really make a push in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's just absolutely incredible that they, from where they were in the middle of the season to getting a first round bye in the playoffs at the end of the season on a phenomenal run of form. And we really need to shout out all of their players, because they have just been each putting in incredible shifts. But the guy who should deserve all the credit for this win itself is Raul Ruiz-Diaz, a player that we've been talking about since he was acquired by Seattle Sounders. Since the World Cup, he's just been balling for Seattle. And do you know how I know he's a baller? Is that he can score a goal with his penis, and he literally banged the ball into the goal. A cross came in and he dick slapped the ball into the back of the net, and you just don't do that if you're a normal player. And that takes balls, literally. But it wasn't just his first goal that was amazing, because he followed that up with the second goal to give Seattle the win and score his brace, and to put a cherry on the top of his phenomenal regular season for Seattle. And my God, man, this team has just been able to pull out wins. And like you said, it's good to see your team grind out these results towards the end of the season. And if you're a Seattle Sounders fan, you're probably the only people who thought you'd still make the playoffs midseason. And the love that you guys have for your team is unheard of. So congratulations to you guys. Second place, phenomenal. Good stuff. It seems like this weekend, we were just talking about a lot of very disappointing teams. And I guess it's fitting because it is the end of the season. But despite a very disappointing season for Vancouver Whitecaps, they were able to end it on a high with the only highlight of their season in Alphonso Davies scoring a brace on his goodbye game for the Vancouver Whitecaps. And what a performance by the young guy. That first goal, he just dribbles by everybody. His change of pace from when he picks up the ball and just books it past the defender as if he's nobody was amazing. And he cuts it across and scores a beautiful goal. And then his second goal, to just be able to pounce on a mistake from the defender to just seal the win for Vancouver, it was incredible to see. And I've loved watching this kid grow and develop as a player over the past season.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because we won't be seeing him in the MLS anymore, but I'm sure he'll be making a name for himself abroad. But I'm sure we're still going to see him do amazing things. He's one of those players that he seems to run faster with the ball at his feet. He's so quick. He's so decisive with his decision making, and he's just phenomenal to watch. Unfortunately, won't be seeing him in the MLS, so I'm sure he'll still keep up his phenomenal run at Bayern.
Well, I actually have a question about that, and I'm going to open it up to the audience as well. I'm a little worried about him going to Bayern because that team is absolutely stacked at almost every position. And so, fans, do you think it was right for him to choose to be either a bench player or an under-23 player over in Germany versus playing on the first team in the MLS? Is it a right switch for him? Is there a potential to kind of stagnate his growth in a way? Because here in the MLS, he was playing week in, week out, absolutely balling. And whereas going to Germany, he might either be sitting on the bench struggling for playing time, or he's going to be relegated to the under-23s where it's not, yes, it'll be higher competition, but it's like a different level. I don't know. What do you guys think? Either way, goodbye, Alphonso Davies. We wish you the best of luck in Germany. Go tear it up. And I hope to see you in the future killing it. Moving along, the New England Disappointments were able to pull out a 1-0 victory over the Montreal Impact, and it was actually a relatively good game for New England. The stadium seemed pretty full despite the fact that it was very cold here in New England yesterday. And this game was very significant, not necessarily for New England because they've been out of the playoffs for weeks, but it was very significant because it kept Montreal out of the playoffs. Had Columbus lost and Montreal beaten New England, Montreal would be in the playoffs and Columbus would be out. But Diego Fagundes had other plans. Diego Fagundes became the youngest player to ever score 50 MLS goals with his goal yesterday on a day that marked potentially his last game for the club. Diego Fagundes' father took to Twitter before the game saying that he was very excited for Diego's last game in Foxborough, yet no news is actually out. And so this is terrible news for us Revs fans because he is basically the only pride and joy we have in this team. He's a homegrown player. He's the youngest player to ever score 50 MLS goals, and he had so much potential in future with New England, so this is not good news, and I'm sad to hear it, despite the fact that he was kind of a dick the one time we met him. And I understand, we're at a concert, cool, I was just trying to say hello, but whatever, I'm not bitter.
Just trying to get a selfie, bro.
Trying to get a selfie with you, bro. My bad.
It's funny because you never want to hear transfer news from a guy's dad on Twitter, and hopefully this isn't true, and his dad is just kind of maybe either pushing for a new deal with the Revs or trying to get Fagundes a little bit more cash, but I really hope that he stays with the Revs. I know that the Revs are not being run in the best way right now as an organization, but I do think that we can make him the star of the New England Revolution. We can build a team around him, and hopefully, Diego Fagundes stays with the Revs.
Revs fans, can you blame Diego Fagundes for wanting to leave? Because I don't blame him at all. This team doesn't look like it has much direction. He isn't getting any younger. While he's still a very young player, if he stays here on a team that he doesn't feel like is going anywhere, his career might stagnate, and he has probably bigger ambitions than just playing in the MLS. So also, what needs to change in the offseason? Is it the coaching? Is it the players? I think it's the management and the upper front office people. In other words, Bob Kraft and them and the people in charge of the organization. But then again, what do I know? Let us know, Revs fans. Comment below. I don't know.
All right, moving along. Columbus Crew actually ended up getting an important victory over Minnesota United.
As I just mentioned, the Columbus Crew, they had their destiny in their own hands. All they needed was a win. And even though it didn't end up mattering, their heavy rain delay allowed them to play later than Montreal and New England. So when they started their game, they already knew that they were in the playoffs. But that didn't change what they did on the field. Jassy Zardes completed his hat trick to solidify the Columbus Crew going into the playoffs, and it was a very, very well taken hat trick. We've been mentioning him in a couple of different episodes, but he's been having a phenomenal season himself. I think he got himself up to 19 goals this season, so I'm excited to see him in the playoffs. I think that he could do some damage for Columbus. Moving along to the last game we're going to be covering this week, and DC United draws 0-0 with the Chicago Fire. Now, to be honest with you, there wasn't much that happened in this game. But we just wanted to talk about how every episode it seemed we were saying how can DC sneak into the playoffs? Will DC get that last playoff spot? Yet here we are at the last week of the regular season and DC are sitting comfortably in fourth. They are hosting a home playoff game at Audi Field, which we have seen has been a phenomenal place to play at for them. They're going to have all of their fans behind them when they face the Columbus Crew this week, and I think that Columbus has no chance. I'm saying that the way that DC has been playing in the second half of the season at home in front of those crazy, crazy fans, I think that we just want to, one more time, beat a dead horse and say, DC, what a turnaround. Wayne Rooney, what an amazing season you've had with DC. All of you guys there, congratulations. It's been amazing to watch. Chicago Fire, you're also a disappointment. Figure it out. I don't know, do something. But I guess now we get to speak over the next few weeks about the teams that actually matter, and I'm excited about that. So then real quick, before we wrap up the show, we're going to go through our rapid fire predictions for the MLS playoffs this week, starting with LAFC versus Real Salt Lake. Go.
LAFC 2-1.
LAFC 3-0. Portland, Dallas.
Portland, 3-0.
I say 3-1. Columbus Crew, DC United.
DC United 1-0.
DC United 3-2.
Wow.
New York City versus Philly.
Philly 2-1.
Ooh, I'm going to disagree. I say New York City 3-1. So there you have it, guys. Another amazing episode of Just Offsides. Hopefully we're right about our predictions. Comment below your predictions, and if you get all 4 right, we'll give you a massive shout out. And who knows, maybe we'll send you something for free.
So that's it, guys. Don't forget to leave your comments for anything else we might have said or talked about in the show. If you like the episode, click that subscribe button, click the like button. It really shows us that you appreciate what we're doing, and we love getting any feedback from you guys. And guys, you can also find us on Instagram at Treble Soccer. Follow us there and get a little bit more interaction with us. We'd really appreciate it.
And again, we apologize to our weekly watchers. I know you guys have been missing the show for the past couple weeks, and it actually really warms my heart to know that people actually genuinely give a crap about what we've been putting on YouTube. So it makes me very happy to know that there are people out there who watch every week, and we really, really appreciate it. And we're sorry that we were gone for 2 weeks. We're happy to be back. I'm so excited. This was a very fun show to do. We've been excited about the MLS playoffs starting for a little while. And from here on out, it's just going to be phenomenal shows every week, and I'm so excited to see the playoffs play out, and yeah, we've instilled a no vacation policy until the MLS playoffs are completely over, so don't worry about missing us. We will be here every week following all the latest action in the playoffs. So that's about it. Peace.